Everybody here?
Yep.
No attendance. Approval of the minutes.
I motion to approve.
Second.
I have one amendment. On there, it says that I am in charge of, I was taking charge of fixing the bench. It's actually Dan and I, actually Dan fronted all the money for the bench, so I want that be written down.
And Dan,
Yeah, yes, please.
all right.
Good job on the minutes, obviously. I know that wasn't easy.
Thank you.
Visitors' comments?
I'm done.
Good. Old business. Rooftop lighting update.
We're gonna get Dave out of here by 8:30, so just an update, right? So the Public Works Code, the Public Improvements Code, which our procurement for lights have to fall under, since the city's buying, it requires 3 bids. Stride has contacted me and has watched our past meetings and is upset, not with us, with their project manager, who was our contact that was not getting back to us, and has asked for the opportunity to submit a 3rd bid. So on that project. So I said, absolutely. So I fully expect next meeting we'll have 3 bids to put in front of you on the table instead of just the 2 I have in.
Okay.
Good.
Decorative parking sign updates.
Oh, I have Laura's card now.
What'd you say, John?
I have Laura's
I did
card.
another introduction to Laura Burns.
Got it.
So
Okay.
by next meeting.
But next meeting, yes.
We
Yes.
do, I mean, it's, there still is an issue with. I guess we did talk about this. We're gonna raise the parking sign, the 2-hour parking sign. That's what we can do. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I was like thinking that I still can't see it. My pots in front of my,
Right.
Right.
you know,
It needs
but,
to go up about 8 inches.
right, yeah, okay, all right. Got here by 8:15. New business.
On the agenda, this will be a quick meeting. I should say, obviously, the chair, October 19th, our city council meeting, which you'll be presenting at. I've got your draft PowerPoint.
Thank you.
So I'm
You're
gonna be
awesome.
sending that to you. It's very much what you saw on the boards. And then the conversation with council is scheduled that same night, so.
Okay.
So we'll send out all
That's
the
a
details.
Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday night,
And what time do I have to be there?
yeah, 6:30 meeting.
6:30 meeting. Got it. On it. Okay, so you're gonna send me a PowerPoint for that?
Yep, I have the draft PowerPoint, I'll send it off to you.
It's gonna be that little thing that I saw at the.
Much like the, yeah, same boards with some more pictures and such, and it's more PowerPoint format.
More power.
Picture.
BDC update.
Tim?
I'm trying to think, oh, we had the coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you, yes, we had the coffee, not the, biggest turnout, that we've had in an event like that, but, we'll be meeting Thursday to discuss that.
So I went to that meeting and I'm just throwing this out there. There wasn't really a presentation by anybody. I mean,
No.
we all just kind of stood and
We
networked,
discussed.
we all know each other kind of already.
Last time we had it, was probably 3 or 4 times the number of
That's
people
what I heard,
there.
yeah, right.
So it
Was there
was,
a presentation at that one?
no. We did, throughout there that we're discussing the money that, the city council has, put on our plate to advise to spend. And so that might have brought some more interest. I don't know, we're gonna do it twice a year. This was a little closer than twice in the year. So we're gonna do it again in February, so that with more time, maybe it'll draw a bigger crowd
Okay.
next time. And we'll figure out another format. We're gonna do different formats and try different things
Okay,
that work.
all right. Yeah, February is probably I mean, that last meeting, when was that? That was middle of August or end of August?
Before August.
Yeah, the last time,
Yeah.
the one we just
Yeah.
had,
Yeah, well.
August
it was-
30th.
August 30th, it was the end of the
Yeah,
year.
it was busy, I mean, a busy time for me, I mean, I have a bunch of, and probably a lot of people are doing Labor Day weekend plans, all kinds of things.
I would think on BDC, just to add to that, obviously they've talked about marketing, and so we hear from a lot of small businesses, especially new starts, how do they sort of break into social media marketing, all these things that they don't have they don't have agencies to do, some connections with that, so sort of a classroom style potentially for marketing is a next possible thought. And then also Lindsay Thomas from Webster Window and Door, the north edge of Old Webster, has been appointed to the BDC to fill a vacancy for a business owner spot.
City update.
Councilmember Smith, I'll turn to you first.
All right, thank you. Don't have much, just letting you know that the council is still working on the aquatic center project, and hopefully we'll have something for the community very soon. And the other thing, in our last meeting, we from the sewer lateral program, we changed the percentages for that. That fund is accumulating a balance. So it used to be 70% cost for the city and 30% cost for the homeowner. So now we're making it 80-20 split, where 80% would be put up by the city and 20% by the homeowner in the event of a sewer repair. So that's all I have for this morning.
We talked about briefly on taxes. I'll give you your one nugget of information for everyone. I'm going to share my screen quickly so everyone can see. But we set the tax rates and for this coming year for the taxes that'll go out in November. Your valuation, Old Webster, this is, I'm sorry, you can't see that. This is pre-BOE. So this column right here is before the Board of Equalization. You'll notice your residential's at 3.5 and your commercial was at 25.2. You had the biggest change across the city in the Board of Equalization, meaning people went to the board and asked for their valuations to be changed. Your residential dropped about 450,000 and your commercial went down to 3.29 in value of commercial value. So somebody, we don't know who, because the Board of Equalization hasn't published their information yet. We'll get that, challenge their valuations, and that makes a change. What does that do for the tax rate? All tax rates went down across the city because valuations went up. But between the beginning of September and the end of September, pre-BOE and post-BOE, your tax rates were scheduled by the state. They set these. We asked them, we put it in the formula, they give it back to us. Your tax rates went back up by 2.5 cents, $100 per 100. So that is a change you'll see there. You were going to be at 0.16 in residential. Now you're at 0.191, 0.165 now at 0.19 or 19 cents 100 for commercial. So that's your tax rate for the district. And then that, oops, sorry, let me get back over here so I know where I'm looking. This is your, the estimated revenue is going to be at about 47,000. You actually get a little more revenue, even though the valuation went down because the tax rates go up. So you're going to gain about $6,100 more in revenue. 47. That is much more, not much more, but about 7,000 more than we budgeted for. So we'll be going to council with a budget re-estimate for revenue to change those numbers to match up now that we know the valuations of the property tax rates. And so I just wanted to give you that update and information. We'll send this out through Fran. You can see all the tax rates. Again, we don't know which properties were changed by the Board of Equalization yet, but that is the tax rate for this coming year.
Dan?
I don't think so. I don't think mine would add up to that.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of, like, who has that much property?
So I don't want to speculate, but oftentimes where we see this is usually commercially, like over at Sunrise and such. The assessor will put the entire unit in as a commercial property and then get challenged on, is this a charitable person who's living under a certain income standard in this apartment, and therefore it doesn't get taxed. Those nonprofit entities. So Bethesda, Laclede Groves, that's always an issue that comes up with the assessors. Nothing the city does. It's all with county assessor and the Board of Equalization.
All right. So there's some things they're not on the agenda that we should talk about. I think that we have a few extra minutes for Dave. Jazz Festival.
Yeah, Joe, it went pretty well.
Went fantastic.
You know, we ended up, we're about positive 5,000 on our budget. So I could look at it either way. We could give a little bit back to the taxing district or keep it and ask for less next year. But
Let's just,
either way,
I would say, I would say keep it in
yeah,
the.
let's
in the
keep it,
fund.
and make sure that all the. Wait till next month to say that.
We have an extra 5,000.
Yeah, exactly what the balance is.
but because Missouri Arts Council gave us a nicer amount this year,
It certainly made a big difference, but, and we have not received that yet.
well, yeah, it's just a matter of invoicing them.
That's just.
We're one of the first, we're early in the year for them, so I think it'll still be there for us.
Oh, yeah, I mean, let's just wait till we actually see it and then we'll have a final balance sheet.
So Frank, what was your opinion of the food vending?
Went well.
Good.
It was busy. I underestimated the amount of alcohol consumption that was going to happen.
So where did you have to run out to?
We had to go back to the restaurant multiple times and basically took everything out of all the wine out of the restaurant, all the beer.
What?
But we used the draft beer trailer down and
Yeah.
by the stage. And so we had tons of beer down there, but at our parkour booth, it was
Running back and
mayhem
forth.
for a while.
Mhm.
In ones, everybody had large. Everybody paid with $100 bill, so having ones was a big thing. Like, I know Jason Tolford from Mission called me after I radioed for more ones from the shop. He's like, "Hey, do you have any ones?" "Yeah, they're coming. Just come on over."
Lesson for next year.
Right, more ones.
Mhm.
Lots of cash is good.
Yeah.
People like, you take cash? I'm
No
like,
credit card.
yes.
Cash.
Exactly.
And then people were surprised that we actually had took credit cards. So that was, so at one point we had 4 or 5 people taking orders, all able to take credit cards at the same time, not one credit card machine.
Right. I know Mission did cash only, and I'm not sure what value did, but you might have been the only one taking credit cards.
Okay. Do it, and we put credit cards down at the other place as well.
Mhm. Well, good, well, I think everything was very positive and
Very well.
400 some odd
This year.
hamburgers.
Yeah. But we sold, we had John Zarky running down the street, getting more French fries from the restaurant, more everything. So
it's how we like it. Happy
Do you have
sponsors.
anything left to sell on Sunday?
No alcohol.
we were out of 2 wines, but we had enough of everything.
That was something I had several people ask me just in the crowd and I wasn't wearing a shirt, but
You know,
is anybody selling wine? So I kept sending them your way.
send you a wine.
Okay, we have Oktoberfest, which is on the 14th,
Is that a 1 day event or 2?
2 Saturday and a Sunday.
Was that a bad?
October 14th and
I've
15th.
not, they're redoing them, but I've not heard if they are done yet. No.
All right, anybody else have anything?
So I got a question. There's a sign at Initial Design it's a sign post with empty sign placeholders in it. There was another one down at Moody and Elm. It sort of got hit by a car, I think, and
That's the one at the parking, that's one of the parking deck that goes in.
the one in the parking deck's used. I think there are actually names on that. But it's never been any
It's
names
just
on it.
2 poles right there by the concrete pad. That's all there is.
Can we get rid of those?
Well, I was gonna suggest we get rid of them, or there's still a few on Gore. You could put the upcoming events, like our yearly events. You could put our ladies' nights out, you could
That's
do,
an idea.
and it'll be up all year.
Right, and Jazz Festival, of
It's-
course. is
And you go
like
third
famous.
Saturday of September, you know,
Street dance.
or take them down. That's my point, is that they're not being used, so.
I'll go with
suggest
it because Joe is excited as I've ever seen him right there. I've never, his voice went up, he loved
Can
it.
you do graphics for the signs?
Sure, I can talk to my friend Laura too.
Yeah.
All it really need, well, I guess it could be a different sign and just and fit in that slot. And yeah, so you're not talking about etching, because those are blank canvases sitting, and they're blank pieces of plastic that
But you can put
someone.
vinyl over it.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Vinyl it and have the graphics of, the beautiful graphics that Gene's done for each of the events. And that way it's a 12-month promotion. It's
I
out there.
think that's a fantastic idea. They've been unused for so long.
Right.
That I think that would be a
Yeah.
really,
Some of them are out of date. business isn't there anymore.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
there's so many are empty as
And
well.
at one point, they were either paid for, I think Mara arranged people
Well,
to sign
The
up for the,
businesses always pay for them.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, when I came, that was the one project Mara said, let me hang on to this because I know all the background on this one. So she's held on to it and I haven't brought it up, but obviously
It's not.
it's not being updated. And other than one business that has called me, no one has asked for even an update. Current business or I'm closed, I want to make sure to take mine down. So
Right.
in 2 years, one person's inquired.
I gotta look and see what you're talking about. I don't even know.
They're black metal poles, about yay far apart, they're little green signs.
Pedestrian, they're not really for vehicles, because you can't see them, they're not big enough when you drive.
The for pedestrian sign.
Okay.
I know Mara said at one time there was a problem with getting them made. The company that was doing them changed or something, and I think that slowed down the process.
maybe we could put vinyl over it though, and they could change easier.
You could do whatever you wanted.
We can do them ourselves.
There's one at the parking deck on the concrete
Right,
there.
And
One's been hit by a car, so one was creased over, someone straightened it up. I have a feeling that may need to be removed, or we could at least looked at to see if that's the case. I would say remove that one personally. There's one over by the bank, by PNC Bank, and then there's one by the entrance, really, Tim, right across the street from you.
Yeah,
That's up by the park, goes to the parking garage. There's also another one over here, and I don't know what the status is, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm sorry, over by the AT&T building coming up Elm that would point people towards Llewellyn's. There used to be one there, I haven't
that one
seen it.
got hit. That's got like a pole, that, you know,
Okay.
there's no signs left.
I think if they're too damaged, if someone,
I think that one should just be.
if Public Works could look at them and, okay, this one got creased over, bent up, it's gonna break and such, then it needs to be moved or just taken out altogether.
But you put street dance, jazz fest, ladies night out, Oktoberfest.
Right.
Those are all pretty similar repeating times. So
Right.
we have to put the actual date, or we could do the date and just change them every year.
Yeah.
And there also could be on there, one of the signs could see for all events, pointing them to the events website at the city and
Put a QR code.
exactly, that would be great. Yeah, that would be simple,
Yeah.
easy, bam.
It would also be nice too to direct them to the map. Because
Oh, yeah.
for foot traffic, people walking, trying to find.
Yeah, yeah, you could have you could have 2 QR codes, one for events, one for a map. And kind of go in that kiosk idea we have, but it could be just floating on phones, which everyone has, so. All right. Anybody else have anything? All right, so I guess. You have 10 minutes, anything that's bad, start to
Wow.
go. Sorry, right, yeah, I guess, I live on Gray, so is Dave. And some people on our street had their cars broken into recently, Dave in particular. So, just kind of be vigilant and everybody just keep your eyes open. Of course, this was 3 or 4 in the morning, so not many people are up then, but, for open windows
And I'll ask Officer Razul,
Officer
like,
Razul.
but there was a more involved carjacking going on near Old Hall. So,
Yeah.
Officer Razul, you.
I can't say much about the actual investigation, but it's not really a carjacking. There was nobody in the car at the time, we were trying to take the car. So,
It was 8 o'clock on Sunday morning.
yeah,
We were opening, I was cleaning the windows and then somebody walked across the street was telling me like, hey, something just happened over here.
yeah,
I see
so-
people standing around that car
yeah,
SUV.
it's unusual at that time,
Right.
but one thing I can say is just lock your doors at night. Because most of the car break-ins, the doors are unlocked, the keys are in there. So, they're very easy to take.
And really, I brought this up because it sounds like, and I will interpret this on my end, so the officers don't say it, but from what the official release was, is that it was a delivery. People making a delivery into probably Olive and Oak or such, and luckily a colleague or a friend of theirs, stopped it and interrupted, but it was for all you business folks making that quick delivery, we obviously have opportune crime there in that moment and people are taking advantage of it. So,
Right, yeah, I know that happened in front of Clover and the Bee
Yep.
at some point too, somebody
Yeah.
left their car running, ran in and, and that is.
And also these.
It was the Clover, I mean, it was the Party Hop Shop girls and they had their kid with them. That's why Ashley fought him off too, because her kid was literally right by the car when it happened. It's scary.
But yeah, well, just keep your eye, yeah, yeah, I know in Dave's case, his car was locked and they broke the window and the officer said people just, they go in and look for a gun and keys, and if they don't find it, they leave. They don't, that's all it is, quick, that's what they're looking for, so.
I've noticed an increase in theft in the store too.
You, really?
Jewelry, yeah,
Okay.
they
Wait.
travel in packs and they huddle and hide and.
We had an instance, this is 5 years ago, but where a group of people came in, it was 5 people, they just spread out.
Mhm.
And there's only 3 of us and we were watching
Yeah.
and we saw some and, but they took off and it was
Can't do
nothing.
anything about
Yeah, exactly right. So I think what I know from being in retail as long as I have, if a business owner feels like something is sketchy and wrong, it is.
Yeah.
Pay,
down,
yeah,
but-
yeah, and when we had it happen, the officer who responded to us said, just call us, we'll be right there. And we'll just kind of, when we pull up, it'll end,
Mhm.
you know?
Most business owners, they're kind of worried, they don't wanna be called Karen.
Right.
That is my name.
You know,
I
it's,
will
I
never
wouldn't-
be someone.
I wouldn't call. I wouldn't call.
it's a popular term nowadays.
She's aware.
But yeah, if you feel a certain way, just call, we'll
Right.
come, show up, walk around and then leave,
Right,
you know?
Right.
So if you call, if I'm in the area, usually, I'm just gonna just hide in the back somewhere until something changes.
Okay,
But if you want me to come walk in the business, I'll walk in the business, no problem.
okay, thank you.
okay. Any other business?
I do have a quick question.
Yes.
So we have some, there's a lot of events coming into Webster for the holidays. And how do we track when there's like a pop-up or an outside business popping up? Are they supposed to, like, is the retailer supposed to fill out a special activities permit for?
It's not a special activities permit, it's a transient license. So if they are not a brick and mortar or a home-based business, first of all, they can't operate in the public space in terms of the parking lanes and such, but if they're gonna pop up on a street, a sidewalk or such, they'll need the permit to use the sidewalk and then also a license from the city, no different than your license, but it's for a limited time, a transient or solicitor's, a transient license, transient merchant license. It is rare that people come get them. So if you get a random donut shop pops up on the sidewalk in front of your business, you can absolutely call me and call the police. Those, if they're not permitted, they're not welcome to be in that space. So.
If
Well,
they're part of
I
your
would like-
retail, like if you have them in your shop as a pop-up?
It's totally fine. So if you're operating it, I'll use Paisley or
Okay.
your store, I was always Attic. If you're moving out the sidewalk and got the permission to use the sidewalk, that's your business, it's fine.
Okay,
So when it's a separate incorporated business, no different than, like.
But
Stacy, you're-
that's only if you're bringing it in through your business, Karen. If they're bringing it on their own square, they have to get a merchant.
That's correct.
that's what I was wondering. Okay, so they
Because
do.
I had spoken with a business that's coming in for Q4 who we're super excited about. It's not my place to like talk about, but she is wanting to, I had a meeting with her yesterday to kind of like give her a rundown of all the upcoming events that she might want to participate on and maybe like prorate herself to be a part of the events. But she is wanting to do a huge holiday mart here and have vendors come in like on Saturdays and line the streets. And the conversation I had with her was, if they're not paying sales tax, they're competing against us as business owners. So it made me start looking back and and doing some research, and I don't know if there's a way to make it easier and more accessible to give to our pop-ups, because we do pop-ups in Paisley often, but we run them through our system and then pay a check that way. But I'm curious if, like, where do you go and get this? What are we looking for? And is it easy to explain to the businesses? Like, can they get it? I mean, is it quick? Like, if I'm like, oh, so-and-so wants to pop up in my space on Saturday, can I download this quickly for them to fill out? Or is this like a process?
Well, everything's a process. I don't think it's as quick as one simple form, mostly because the code is generally the code has been written to be rather restrictive of inviting other folks into the brick and mortar space. So I can look at it, Stacey. I mean, seriously, we get maybe 2 a year. So the process is not one that we go through often. In terms of the sales tax, that's all on the retailer. We don't deal with that. So if you have a pop-up business, the retailer is required by state law to say that these sales happened in Webster Groves and our sales tax rate applies. We don't have any compliance power to be able to check that and say this happened, other than we can look at the reports and then complain to the state that, you know, this person was here for a weekend and didn't pay sales tax into the Webster Groves rate or such. So, and that's usually one of the bigger concerns, is that retailers won't change their sales tax formula in the system when they're doing those pop-ups, and they're just, if they're from U City, they end up paying the U City rates, and it all flows to U City rather than here in the point of sale transaction. And we do have, even though you hear about the pool sales tax, we do have point of sales taxes here that are specific to Webster Groves.
Right. One thing I want to say, Stacy, is the comment you just made about you have somebody coming in who wants to line the streets. I would hope that comes before us, before that happens. And that's something I won't be 100% for sure on.
I just sat through a meeting and she explained this to me. I did
Yeah,
not
I understand.
like,
I know it's not you. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. I'm just with, but
yeah. Well, and
I'm
that's the
not-
thing, it's a new business. I don't think she knew. Like when I was
Right.
sitting there, she just was like, oh yeah, and we're gonna try to do this. And I was like, okay, well, you're gonna have to call Eric. You're going to have to fill out a special activities permit. You're probably gonna have to talk to taxi if it's this big of an event. So I was trying to gather the information to be able to give to her. And while I was trying to gather the information to give to her, I came across this other permit thing, and I'm like, oh.
What's it called?
So this is, so let me explain real quick. So if you're using the public right of way, so the sidewalks or the parking lane or a street, you're closing the street, that's a special activity permit in your district, you're going to see them. You don't see the ones for Jazz Fest Net because it's, you know, it's you guys are funding it, so it's just assumed that it's,
Right.
So you're gonna see that up anytime. The transient license permit, so somebody says, I'm gonna open use the hall at Olive and Oak and have a flea market in there, right? That's not necessarily gonna come to you, and that's something, you know, in the code, and again, we get very few of them, but you know,
And that's
indoor-
on, that's on private property
Exactly.
too, you know, if it's in
Right.
Stacy's store,
Right.
I don't have any control over that, you know, and that's good.
Yeah.
But I don't want people camping out and having 3 booths in front of my.
Sure.
But what Eric,
On a Saturday.
but what Eric is saying too, though, is if they're there, and am I wrong, Eric? If they're like if they're at, oh no, let's use Women's Creative as an example. They're doing these quarterly events at O&O right now. Their vendors are coming in, they're coming from all over, and they're popping up in O&O. Does each vendor need to be doing something to be a vendor in Webster Groves? Or is this all under the Women's Creative, though each vendor is ringing their own transactions?
So I'm guessing, because this, first of all, they haven't asked for any license, but yes, each vendor, if they're collecting, if I'm vendor XYZ and I'm collecting the cash and it's my cash, not the Women's Creatives cash, right? It's mine as a business, then I need a transient merchant license, no different than every other retailer in the city who does that. Women's Creative may not necessarily need it unless they're, you know, it depends on what they're selling booths for and such, and probably not a transient merchant license. So, but each of those vendors in that interior create with Women's Creative should have a transient merchant license. I guarantee you none have happened. We haven't had any complaints as of yet. So that's why it hasn't come up for regulation, but food trucks aren't allowed in the districts at all.
I'm just talking in general, I mean,
Yeah.
we got Phil, so yeah. they
Food
would have to-
trucks are generally, you could probably be in Yorkshire, because you can't park in a residential area. You could be up in Marshall and Summit. Those are the 2 areas in the city that you could be at.
I'm just talking in general, going around the city to all the different places. I mean, not just Webster, just everywhere. Different tax rates. Wow.
But I mean,
Makes
Regions
sense.
had that food truck and I'm sure they had a permit for it, right? I mean,
They had food truck?
Yeah.
Well,
No, and I,
they were
did
given,
not.
So-
they were given,
oh, that's.
Well, we've had food trucks outside of Old Reliable before, and we fill out a special activities permit every single time.
That's correct, yes. So I mean, it's obviously with the district's understanding and, the point of that permit, yes, that's okay, but on its
Yeah.
own, a food truck can't just roll up and say, I want to park my food truck here.
Right.
And get a license from us, and compete with a brick and mortar restaurant.
Right.
So Eric, what lead time do you think a vendor would need to get that approved?
It doesn't take long to approve it. It's really it's a matter of the double checking of a few things and then, namely if they're a food business, do they have their county stuff? And then what space are they going to be in, right? If they're within, I'll use Paisley, if they're within Paisley operating as a pop-up, it's very simple for us. If they're trying to be in a public space somewhere, sidewalk sale, things like that, that takes the longer connection with how wide is your tent gonna be? Do you have enough room to get people through without obstructing the right of way? And I'm not saying long, it's, we can do it all within a week. It's just not gonna be, within an hour, here's your license. So.
Interesting. I don't think we've ever had that,
Yeah, I'll give you, the regulation on that certainly exists. There's been very few complaints, so it's rare that the
Okay.
city, gets in the midst of it. No different than we get sales tax due letters about businesses that you would be surprised, right? And they're not delinquent on their sales tax. The letter from the DOR went out and then the sales tax came in, right? But we get a letter that says we're supposed to shut this business down, right? We've never done that to my knowledge. But we've had some that go up 7 years, and that one got, about 3 days away from being shut down with a cease and desist order.
oh,
Nailed up. So I mean, because ultimately that sales tax includes the city's revenue and such, and so we are the local enforcement agent for sales tax in that regard. In that way, but we can't say to a retailer, show us your system that you're getting the Webster Grove sales tax paid, right? It's really about, did DOR get the money? If not, then we are the agent to say cease and desist.
so when they fill out an application to have a temporary merchant license for, a few hours, is there a fee associated with that too?
I believe so. It's minimal. I can't remember off the top of my head, Stacy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what to tell her as far as, so, the person that's wanting to put this on, is also in charge of the Foundry Marketplace every year, and she is moving her business from the Foundry. So I don't know if you are familiar, but it is like a huge holiday marketplace that they do every Saturday in December. And she had mentioned, she's like, do you think the business owners, and wouldn't that be so fun to do that in Webster, find, maybe do it at the Presbyterian church lot or somewhere. And then as I was talking to her, it kind of was a little like, oh, this is bigger than just putting a pop up in front of your business. So, I mean, it could be really good for Webster. I mean, especially when she says it brings 14,000 people in. I don't.
We're ready to work with her, so we can.
Yeah,
we
I
can-
think I gave her your info. I told her to call you today.
Okay.
So
Great.
hopefully she calls you today. And then Fran, I need to get with you if that's okay, so we can get all of the info out to her. She's only popping up for Q4. I mean, she's only taking a space on for Q4.
Quarter four. Is that about the women's
Fourth
creative?
quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, Q4. I'm sorry.
I couldn't
October-
understand what the words
October,
were.
November, December.
Okay, fourth quarter, all right.
Sorry.
I thought it was a business she was talking about.
No, it is. It's a business. She's taking over a space for Q4.
Oh, so that is the name of the business, okay.
No, no,
She's taking over a space for the period of fourth quarter. for 3
sorry.
months.
Now I got it.
Stacy, can we
Okay.
use fourth quarter from now on?
I'm so used to saying it in my business. We say it a lot, so I'm sorry.
I know, we've got a lawyer for Fran, she's not understanding that term, that's a little complicated, I guess.
Well, it depends what the score of the game is.
Here you go.
Well, that's hockey, you know, there you go.
Well, I mean, quarter four is always the biggest deal. Okay, so.
All right, next meeting is.
October
That's
21st.
the extra money from the desk.
Don't ask questions. About the plastic bag of gas.
Cash sitting next to you. All right,
That will pucker up the finance department real quick down there. They will.
Eric's got a bag of cocaine down here. I'm just thinking about, I'm gonna get out of here as quick as possible. Off to there and deal with this.
all right, so our next meeting is
I'm
October.
gonna videotape.
It's our. Those taking notes. October 24th, thank you. Okay, any meetings adjourned?
Right, thank you.
Fran, I needed to get you.